On the newsfeed late night. Thanks for staying with us. Hundreds of people are fleeing ongoing hostilities in Palma in the north of Mozambique, seeking refuge in Pemba. Scores of people have taken refuge in schools, hotels, makeshift tented camps, and a sports stadium. Joining me now for an update is journalist and researcher at the Center for Public Integrity in Mozambique, Borges Nyamire. Borges, good evening and thank you very much for your time. Talk to me about the extent of the population swell currently being experienced by Pemba.
Good evening, thank you. Well, the situation was already bad in Cabo Delgado. Just to have an idea, more than 25% of Cabo Delgado inhabitants have been displaced since 2017. So the recent attack in Palma has just come to increase this situation, to worsen this situation that was already bad. Pemba is a town for 200,000 inhabitants, but now it's believed that it has more than double of it. So the situation is really dramatic. And what does it mean? It means problem with sanitation, it means problem with housing, it means problem with health service. So the situation is of a real crisis.
Yeah, I mean, this includes as much as 7,400 people who arrived in the space of a week in October. I mean, what does that itself tell us about the levels of the attacks that are now being experienced in Palma? That means the insurgency has really upped the level of attacks there.
Yes, the insurgency has increased a lot in the recent years. They have attacked so far 5 district headquarters. That is a lot. That is something that did not happen in Mozambique during the 16 years civil wars that we witnessed here in Mozambique before the insurgency. That is something that no one could imagine that would happen. For example, Palma was a home for almost 75,000 inhabitants. So when it was attacked, it means all those people have to leave in the same day, in the same time, trying to find a place, a safer place to stay. But also the government failed completely in how to manage the IDP situations, because the government did not open shelters, did not provide shelters to the IDPs. So they left the IDPs on their own luck, just going to find a way by themselves where to stay. So they started to live with relatives, with friends. So the Pemba households now, they can accommodate more than 50 people in a very thin house, and people are poor there. So a lot of houses that don't have pumped water, so the situation is really dramatic and a direct consequence of the insurgency. And this insurgency is different from the war that those people used to know. This is not a regular war. This is something that have never seen before in Mozambique. Beheading people, cutting people in pieces, like dividing a body in 4 or more pieces. So this creates trauma to people. This traumatizes people. So people leave their homes, even if they have not been attacked, but only if they hear that the insurgents are coming, they start to flee, and the situation is what we can see.
How has the local authority responded to this, Borges? I mean, they have opened some resettlements, but how are the people fleeing their insurgency responding to the reopening of the settlement camps?
We must place it in the context. In the beginning, the government did not want to open resettlement centers. It refused to open resettlement centers. The government told the people to remain in their village, saying that the government would send military and police to protect them back in their village. So this was the huge problem, meaning that now we're talking about more than 700,000 IDPs from Cabo Delgado. Only 5% are in resettlement centers. So it means the big majority, the huge majority, are starving somewhere. Secondly, the people are being attacked far north there in Palma, which is 400 kilometers to Pemba. So the first problem people face is how to reach to a safe place in Pemba. Government did not send a single means to rescue people who are trying to find a safe area to live. So people walk more than 200 kilometers just trying to find a better place to live. Some did walk for 40 kilometers to border with Tanzania, crossed the border to Tanzania, and then Tanzanian authority managed to take them back to Mozambique. So some people are just traveling through the sea using very unsafe boats, small boats, fishing boats. And we had reports before of those boats sinking and people dying during the maritime trip that can take more than 2, 3, and 4 days, depending on the condition of the environment in the ocean.
Talk about the aid workers there, Borges, and are they able to access Pemba to give some kind of aid as far as food is concerned, but also private companies? I know Total is one of the companies there. What work are they doing to assist those who are in dire situation, especially the survivors who managed to reach Pemba?
Well, the humanitarian organization, basically the United Nations organization, the Catholic Church, Carita, they have been there from the beginning trying to provide some assistance to those to the IDPs. But the aid is there is a shortage of aid. Now, just to have an idea, the United Nations, the World Food Program, pledged for $250 million to assist the IDPs in Mozambique, and it has been done in December last year. So far, they got only 1% of this amount. So people have nothing to eat. When it comes to the international companies like Total actually has left. So it did withdraw completely the staffing from Cabo Delgado. So Total is no longer there. The LNG site has been left with the government of Mozambique just to protect the area. And we really don't know when Total is coming back. So people are really, really starving. What we can see, if I show you some picture, we can witness children that are just starving, and the situation is really, really, really dramatic. And I've been to Cabo Delgado often. The situation is that, yeah, no one can resist when you see it.
And who is taking responsibility for all this? I mean, are the people actually coming out and taking responsibility for it? What are their demands?
Well, first of all, we think the responsibility of it is the local families. The local householders are the ones who are hosting the IDPs. So, as I've said before, 95% of all the more than 700,000 people who have been displaced are living in the house of their relatives, sharing the meals that they don't have. So government now has started to open some IDP centers to shelter them, but just less than 5% of IDPs. So effectively, what we see now in Pemba, when you travel to Pemba now, you will see that there is an increase of children walking around in the roads, just asking for money and for food. You will see that there is an increase of criminality. You will see that there is an increase of prostitution. So it's like a really situation of dramatic situation. But this is not only in Pemba. It's also in other districts in Cabo Delgado. Also, the same situation we find in Nampula province, which hosts around 10% of IDPs from Cabo Delgado. So what we see when we walk through the roads is too much children walking around, asking for bread, something that is really new, and it means we are putting in danger the whole new generation of people because government is not assisting. Just so people understand what is happening, government of Mozambique did not approve a single dollar to assist IDP who have fled, who have left their areas in the north of Cabo Delgado. So, for asking for a question, no one is taking responsibility over them. We have the United Nations organization trying to provide some assistance, but this is not enough, of course.
Borges Nyamira, I appreciate your time tonight here on the Newsfeed Late Night. That is journalist and researcher at the Center for Public Integrity in Mozambique.